Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Rose here. I'm going to be showing you how to use the sound booth that we have here at Waypoint Church. And I know there are quite a few buttons. It can be a little intimidating, but I promise you, once you know the basics, you'll be all set. And it's super helpful to know, especially if you're in the worship team and you need to use the sound booth to adjust the mixes or your in-ears or anything like that. So I'm going to be walking you through some of the basics that you will need to know when handling the board. So let's go. All right, so I'm gonna do my best to show you how I would set up the soundboard. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm gonna come over to this corner. There is a plug right at the bottom, right here. Plug it into the wall. That's gonna turn on this, and you'll hear some clicks. Totally normal, it's just warming up. While that's happening, I'm gonna walk over to the board. If you go to the very top right hand corner, you'll feel a switch. Turn on the board and it warms up. Here is the soundboard turned on. It should look something like this. And the first thing I would do when looking at the soundboard is to make sure everything that is being used or being played on stage is unmuted. So if we come in, I'm gonna see if I can do this without the light glare, but you can see we have a bunch of mute buttons. Each one of these mute buttons corresponds with a channel. So these colors show up better on camera, so I'll use those as examples. This one says channel 8 electric 2, channel 7 keys, channel 6 bass, channel 5 cajon, etc. So each one is their own channel and each mute button goes with that channel. So if I have electric and keys and bass and cajon all being used on stage, I want to make sure those are unmuted, so I will turn those off. These ones are our vocalists, this one is our lead vocals, and then backup vocals 1, 2, and 3. So unmute everything and make sure whatever's being used, those buttons are turned off. These ones are also more channels. We have our piano, we have our acoustic, electric, and the wireless microphone for the pastor when he speaks as well. So you can unmute whatever is being used on this part as well. And then this third part over here, the same thing. Want to make sure these mute buttons are off. But the only thing that's different about these channels is that they are group mutes. So this one, you can't really read it very well on camera, but it's channel 1 VOX. So this would be our group mute for the vocalists. These ones would be the group mute for our keys and piano, these ones for the guitars, drums, speakers, everything like that. So make sure that those are turned off as well. So I've turned off everything that is going to be used on stage, but as you can see, there's only a limited amount of channels on this board, and we haven't even touched the drums. And I want to make sure that the drums are unmuted as well. So if you come over to this little corner, you'll see that this says inputs 1 to 16. I want to go to the next input, 17 to 32. Click those. The sliders change. Now we're in different channels. As you can see, the top colors have changed as well, and the labels are all different. So all the red ones are for drums. So as you can see, we have toms, hi-hats, all those. So these ones are all unmuted, perfect. And then these ones are some other channels, but you will not have to worry about those for the worship band. So if you do need to change channels to get to something else, like adjusting the drums, you can go click our input button here and switch back to get whatever channel you need. I hope that this video is making sense and that you are enjoying watching it and that is useful to you. But the next thing I want to talk about is in-ears. If you're not familiar with worship music or being on stage, that is totally okay. We have our own headphones that we wear to be able to hear ourselves when we play, and we can adjust our mixes based on our preference in our ears. So you can download an app called M32-Q. You can connect to the soundboard and adjust the mix through your phone, which is super awesome. The code is 10.30.49.240 and it is labeled on the board if you forget. So that's a really great way to get your mix just the way you like it, but sometimes people will ask you to do it on the board because they forgot their phone or they would just prefer you to do it. And so I'm going to be showing you how to do that next. Let's go. So here is the code right here labeled for you. If you want to download the WM32-Q app and be able to adjust your mixes using your phone. The one thing I will mention is you have to be on a different Wi-Fi, so make sure you connect to the Sound Wi-Fi so that you are able to use the app. But if you are asked to do it using the board, here is how you would do it. So I'm going to be using the lead in-ears as the example. She is channel 1. So this is the regular board, the mixes you hear in the main speakers. But if I want to go to her in-ear mix, I'm going to come over to this side. I'm going to be clicking buses 1 to 8. She is the first channel in the main mix, so she's going to be the first channel in the in-ear. So click bus 1 to 8, you'll see these switch. And if you come closer, you can see that it says bus 1 lead. So this is her channel that I want to select for the in-ears. So I'm going to select it by clicking the select button, and then I'm going to click the fader flip button. So if you go over back to this side and I click the fader flip button, you'll see the sliders change. And this is her mix in her ears. So she has a little bit of herself, a little bit of the background vocalist, some keys, guitar, and all of that. And of course, if you want to get to the drums and the other channels that are not shown here, you can just click these input button again and get the rest of those channels. And this one is like the click, so she hears some click. She has a little bit of drums in her ears. So again, to get to different channels, you can just use those input buttons on the side. If I want to exit out because I want to make sure that I don't keep adjusting the mixes, because it will be adjusting it in her ears and not in the main speakers, all you have to do, so we're in buses, you just click back to group DCA 1 to 8, and you'll see it go back to the regular main mix. So some of the channels for the in-ears are the buses 1 to 8. It has all the vocals, the keys, piano, and the electric. But if I want drums or bass or anything like that, I'll click this bus, channels 9 to 16. So we have our bass, we have our drums, we have our acoustic, and whatever channel I want to adjust the in-ears, just click that select button and then the fader flip. And then you'll see that this is what the acoustic hears in his ears right now. So I'm going to exit out back to the main mix here. And so that is how you adjust your in-ears and go between in-ears and the main mix. In the sound booth, if it's during practice or whenever you are up here adjusting the board and you want to be able to hear what a person's in-ear mix sounds like, or even just the main speakers, you can use these earbuds. They've been well loved over the years. We definitely need to get a new pair, but they work. They're plugged into the board. You can use them to listen to the mixes. And to do that, all you do is you come to the board. So I'm going to use the lead vocalist's ear mix as the example. I'm going to go back to bus. I'm going to find her channel and I'm going to select it. But this time I'm going to click solo because I want to hear just her mix solo. So then just to exit out of it again, you can click that group 1 to 8 button. But if you do want to listen in and see how you can make mixes better, or just want a better listen at it, that is how you would do it. So back in this corner of the sound booth, you will see that the wireless mics are being charged in this corner, and then they're also being charged by the computer. So make sure that they're plugged in throughout the week so that they're fully charged, and then unplug them when it's time to use them. So let's see how they work. Here are what they look like when they are not being charged. As you can see, this one has a pointed edge, and then this one has more of a boxed edge. The boxed edge is the transmitter, and this is what's going to be plugged into the soundboard, and then this one with the pointed edge is going to be plugged into the microphones that are currently being stored on the stage. So of course you want to turn them on using these little switches. On the microphone side you have the voltage and if you want it turned on and off. So I'm going to turn this one on, and you also want to make sure that this one is on the 48 volts. So both sliders, when being used, should be switched to the top. You can also see these little circles. They both say the number 2, so we both know that they're corresponding to the channel number 2. You want to make sure, of course, that they both match up. You can't have a transmitter saying channel 1 and a microphone saying channel 2 because that just won't work. If you do need to change the channels though, these little circular buttons do move. You can press them and it will tell you the different channels and switch them to whatever one you need. So I'm going to take this transmitter and I'm going to take it to the board. It is channel number 2. We're going to find our vocal number 2, which is this one. And I'm going to slide my finger all the way up, all the way up, all the way up. And you'll see we have quite a bit of cords back here. So I want to make sure that I plug this one in to the right channel over here. I'll make a new clip because I wanted to make sure I plugged it in correctly. So it's plugged in, the slider is turned on, so it is on, and now it is plugged into the board. When I take this, I'm going to plug it into the microphone that is stored on the stage up there, turn the switch on and make sure it's connected, and you should be good to go. And of course, when you are not using it, turn it off, take it out of the microphone, and then remove the transmitter. And there is this little metal button here that you can press to remove it, like that. And then just turn it off and plug it back in and you're good to go. Hopefully this little explanation about the microphones makes sense and that you understand. It's honestly really fun, and I remember when I first learned how to use the mics, I felt very smart and very cool and techy, and I hope you do too. So you can use the same process to set up both of the microphones. One thing I will say before I forget is that sometimes when you plug in both transmitters, one will turn off. So just verify that the sliders are both up and that they're on, because if they turn off, you will not be able to hear the person through the microphone. But that was the explanation of how to use the wireless mics. So the final thing when you are done with practice or done with your service or whatever you're using the soundboard for, you just want to make sure to turn it off and put it away right. So all you have to do, just make sure that everything is muted, because people will unplug their cords and things and it's really loud. So I would suggest muting everything that has been unmuted and making sure that the main slider button is turned down, just like this, so that it is not loud and up in those speakers. Make sure all those mute buttons are on, and then you're gonna go back to this top right hand corner, find that switch, and turn it off. The last thing you wanna do is unplug this to make sure it's not on. Alright, so that is about the extent of my knowledge about everything related to sound for our regular worship services. I hope that it made sense, and if you ever need to hop up to the sound booth to adjust something or fix in-ears or get those wireless mics working, I hope that this little tutorial video will help you understand how to do it. It's really fun and it's really awesome being able to see a different side of worship planning. And so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.